Fortnite Chapter 5 is coming to an end with the live event that's set to take place on November 1st. But this got me thinking, what is the best chapter in the history of Fortnite? Now, since there's only 5 chapters, I'm going to be able to rank them from worst to best in the same video. And in order to make sure I do it as unbiased as possible, I'm going to be using the community's rankings. So to do this, I took the rankings from each season, added them all up for the chapter, and then averaged them out. This means that every chapter is going to have an average season ranking. For example, Chapter 3 had 4 seasons. Chapter 3 Season 1 was ranked 10th out of 31 seasons. Thus, it's given the value of 10. Then Chapter 3 Season 2 was ranked 23rd, so it's given the value of 23, and so on and so forth. Then I add up all the rankings and I divide it by the amount of seasons in that chapter. And that's going to take us to the worst chapter in the history of Fortnite, which is going to be Chapter 3 with an average season ranking of 22. This was honestly really shocking because Chapter 3 Season 1 is considered by many to be Fortnite's third prime, but it looks like these 2 seasons absolutely killed it. I mean, how are you gonna have a 4-season chapter and 2 of those seasons end up in the top 5 worst seasons in the history of the game? This chapter started off with so much potential, with Spider-Man's web slingers being the funnest mythic in the game to use and the MK7 being absolutely broken. We were also given the sliding mechanic, which is by far the best addition that Epic Games has ever added to Fortnite. I mean, people were honestly loving Season 1, but it all started to go downhill in Season 2 when they took away building to start the season. They gave us tanks in the game and we got new forms of mobility like mantling and sprinting, but for whatever reason, not a lot of people liked this season. And as if it couldn't get any worse, Fortnite decided to drop Chapter 3 Season 3, which is considered to be one of the most boring seasons in the history of Fortnite. And to be 100% honest, I really don't know completely why. We got a few collabs like Darth Vader, Indiana Jones, and Dragon Ball Z. They did, however, bring along the 2-shot shotgun, which is considered to be the worst shotgun in the history of Fortnite. They then ended off the season with this live event, which was pretty cool, but it took us absolutely nowhere. We then got Chapter 3 Season 4, and let me just say,
it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
All you really have to know about this season was that there was a bunch of chrome everywhere, the weapons were atrocious, and they gave us the worst live event in the history of Fortnite to end off the chapter.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
But that's gonna take us to the chapter that we have in 4th place, coming in with an average season ranking of 17.8, and that's gonna be Chapter 4. Now, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, this was my least favorite chapter in the history of Fortnite. Chapter 3's end event just made the initial hype for this chapter so low. Along with this, the map that we got pieced together by Paradigm just wasn't very appealing. This was also the season that we got the My Hero collab, and a lot of people were complaining that the weapons were way too overpowered. Speaking of overpowered, the Shockwave Hammer was the best mobility item that we saw this entire season. But then came Season 2, and it brought some of the best items that we saw in all of Chapter 4. For starters, we were introduced to the Kinetic Blade, which in my opinion was one of the better mobility items in this chapter. We also got the Havoc Shotgun, which was by far the best shotgun in this chapter, and the Mythic might have been the best in the history of the game. Also, we were given an Attack on Titan collab with the ODM gear being a Mythic mobility item. Along with this, we got the Overclock Pulse Rifle, which means this season had 2 of the top 5 best mythics in the game. But that'll bring us to Season 3, which by the way is ranked the 2nd worst season in the history of Fortnite. There's honestly not that much to say about this season because it was just that bad. The jungle biome absolutely sucked and the flapjack rifle was alright. Then you had the boomerang, which was completely useless, and the best gun that was added this season was of course the mammoth pistol. But then we have Season 4, which believe it or not was ranked the best season in Chapter 4. The villain Kato Thorn was introduced and he brought mythics back from past seasons in Fortnite's history. Midas's drum gun was back on the island, except it wasn't as good as it once was. Along with this, we got TikTok star Kabi Lame as a battle pass skin, which I'm sure nobody expected. And the rocket ram was a nice touch because it was a pretty decent mobility item. At the end of the season, Kato Thorn uses his time machine and we end up getting sent back to Fortnite OG Chapter 1. Season OG was ranked as the 2nd best season in the history of Fortnite, but since it doesn't take place on the Chapter 4 map, I decided not to rank it at all. For those wondering, if I were to rank Season OG with Chapter 4, the average season ranking would have been 17.8. And that's going to take us into the 3rd best chapter in the history of Fortnite, and that's going to be Chapter 5 with an average season ranking of 21.75. That means it only beat out Chapter 4 by 0.25 spots. Going into Chapter 5, we just got out of Season OG, so the initial hype was really high. But the season started off on a bad note when Fortnite completely messed up the movement. People absolutely hated this movement, but the good thing was that Fortnite was listening and they were actively working to change it. We were also introduced to the concept of medallions, which would give you healing, but they would also show where you were on the map. We also got Peter Griffin in Fortnite, but people were pissed off to see that it was a skinnier version and not his normal self. Along with this, the loophole was pretty good. The Frenzy shotgun was kind of overpowered, but the hammer pump could be used as any normal pump. Then they gave us a Ninja Turtles collab, and if I'm being 100% honest, this was kind of forgetful. We were given 4 new mythics, but none of them were really that good. Then Fortnite decided to drop Season 2, which honestly wasn't great. The whole concept of the Greek god thing was pretty cool, but it ended up getting pretty stale. They changed around the medallions, so now each one had a different purpose. And then they introduced us to the wings of Icarus and Zeus's lightning bolt. But for whatever reason, even though they were constantly updating the game, it just felt super dead. We got the Chains of Hades and an Avatar collab, but for whatever reason, it just felt super boring. We got the mini event with Pandora's box, but just like all mini events, it was kind of underwhelming. Then Fortnite dropped Chapter 5 Season 3, which is the third most hated season in the history of Fortnite. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this season. All you have to know is that they put a big desert biome in the bottom of the map, and it put way too much emphasis on the cars. Fortnite's player count was dropping badly at this point, so what did they do? They went and made another Marvel season. Chapter 5 Season 4 is the season that I'm currently in when making this video, and as of right now, it's ranked the 11th best season in the history of Fortnite. So far, it's been pretty good. We had a nice Fortnitemares update with Billy the Puppet and Leatherface, and we had the mini live event where we were able to defeat Dr. Doom. But as of right now, all eyes are on the chapter-ending event that's set to take place in just a couple of days that's going to be taking us back to the Chapter 2 island. Now, before I go off and list the top 2 chapters in the history of Fortnite, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you guys liked the video. But without further ado, the second best chapter in the history of Fortnite, according to the community's rankings, is going to be Chapter 2. The season started off so strong, with the Black Hole event having people thinking that the game was completely over. But when we logged into the game for the very first time, the cinematic took us right into our first game. We had a whole new map and all new graphics. The only issue was Epic Games decided to reset everybody's keybinds. I honestly don't know what the point of this was, but it didn't really matter because the season ended up being really good. Or at least that was until Fortnite decided to extend the season for over 2 months. Chapter 2 Season 1 was the longest season in the history of Fortnite, and the only update that Fortnite gave us was a harpoon gun. But it was all worth the wait because then Fortnite dropped this masterpiece, Chapter 2 Season 2, which is the best season in the history of Fortnite. This was the first season where the concept of killing a boss to get a mythic was introduced, and everybody absolutely loved it. We were also given new forms of mobility such as helicopters, and there was honestly no way that you could have hated this season. Even the event that they used to end off this season was great. But sadly, this event resulted in Midas's quote-unquote death, and the map being completely flooded. We were given new bosses like Ocean, who had her bottomless chug jug, and we also got a few new additions to the game with sharks being added. The water was great for mobility, but it was honestly just so annoying. But Fortnite made up for it by giving us our first ever Marvel themed season. Everything from the POIs to the battle pass had a Marvel theme aspect to it. And the live event was pretty cool too, as we were able to load up battle buses and finish off Galactus for good. But then came along Season 5, and the 0 point was completely exposed after Galactus tried to take it over. Agent Jones, who is still working for the IO, looked around for the best bounty hunters to make sure that nobody was able to escape the loot. We got the Mandalorian as a boss who had a mythic sniper and jetpack. This was also the season that we got gold and the bounty system introduced to the game. The biggest complaint about this season is that Fortnite decided to completely remove the pump and instead give us the lever action shotgun. Then Fortnite dropped Season 6, and I'm not even going to talk about this one because it was absolute dog shit. Season 7 ended up being a bit better. We got a Rick and Morty collab and aliens were taking over the map. They were coming in armies and we were doing everything that we could to defeat them. They brought UFOs that we were able to fly around and that were honestly super fun to play with. They ended off the season with the live event that we all thought was going to destroy the map, but then came along Season 8. The map was completely plagued with the cubes from the Season 7 live event, and we were introduced to this season's villain, which was the Cube Queen. At the end of the season, the Cube Queen tries to take over the map, and in the process, we end up beating her. In order to do so, the Foundation ends up flipping the map over so that we get to the Chapter 3 map. It was honestly one of the most perfect ends to a chapter that we've ever seen, but that's going to bring us to the #1 chapter in the history of Fortnite, and that's going to be Chapter 1. Everything about Chapter 1 was just so iconic, from the map to the seasons. Seasons 1 through 9 were absolutely perfect. Season 10 was a bit iffy. Chapter 1 was a time where you could get home from either school or work and you'd be so eager to play the game of Fortnite. It was a simpler time in Fortnite's history when they could do anything and the community would love them. The game was taking the world by storm and nobody had ever seen a battle royale where you were able to build to protect yourself. It honestly feels as if it was yesterday that Tilted Towers was added to the game. Now, I don't know if it was because I was so young, but everything felt easier back then. There were so many iconic faces in the streaming world that were playing Fortnite in Chapter 1, and if I'm being 100% honest, the nostalgia actually hurts. There is not a single season in Chapter 1 that is ranked worse than the top 20 seasons, and that's gonna put an end to it. Those are all the chapters in the history of Fortnite ranked from worst to best. Please let me know if you guys enjoyed the video. I try to get as much feedback as I can to make my videos better for the viewers. Also, please remember that these rankings are by the community, they're not by me, so don't come at me in the comments, please. And lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video, just to help a small creator like me out. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see all of you guys in Remix Chapter 2.